Hey, everybody. I'm Portia Sabin, president of the Music Business Association. Welcome back to Driving Change, our diversity, equity, and inclusion conference. We want Music Biz to be a place where the hard conversations can take place about what needs to change in our industry. And honestly, I feel like we are off to a great start. If you weren't here yesterday, we had some incredible speakers. Jeff Harleston from Universal Music Group talked about how our efforts in diversity and inclusion are important, but said that it's equity that will make a lasting difference. We need to have diverse professionals with decision-making power to get to the places of change that we so seriously need. We also had an amazing panel of HR professionals who talked about not only creating a diverse pipeline, but supporting people once they're hired and creating pathways for advancement. They even talked about the ability of employees to change workplace cultures to improve conditions for everyone. It was really inspiring. And if you missed it, this whole conference will be archived at musicbiz.org, our website. I'm excited to continue the discussions we started yesterday over the next 2 days and to present concrete ways we can move forward as an industry in making the necessary changes. I want to thank Porsche Cars North America for their generous sponsorship of this important event. At any time during this event, you can visit the Porsche Content Hub hosted at musicbiz.org to learn more about Porsche and their experience centers located in Atlanta and Los Angeles. We'll be flashing the exclusive link throughout the conference and in the chat for easy access. I also want to thank all of you for donating to the Music Business Association Scholarship Fund. Your donations will help support the next generation of music business professionals, and that is honestly one of the most important things we can do as a community. So thank you. And now we are going to kick things off with a video from Erin Clordy, the Marketing and Business Development Manager at the Porsche Experience Center in Atlanta.
My name is Erin Clordy, and I am the Marketing and Business Development Manager for the Porsche Experience Center Atlanta. So my job here is to take care of everything in order to market this wonderful facility that we're in. Having a diverse team is so important. I'm fortunate enough to be on a very diverse team. And now that I've had that experience, I don't think I could possibly have it any other way. With a diverse team comes diversity of thought. And I think diverse teams are a little bit more likely to take up an idea that's a little bit less traditional and run with it. Because having a diverse team lends itself to an attitude of openness. Everyone has different personal experiences and different work experiences that lead to their knowledge base. And when you value that, you're naturally going to get a better result. And that's just not anecdotal. Harvard Business Review has articles written about the fact that it has been proven that diversity drives innovation. So this is a fact that we already know. Being at Porsche, I feel fortunate to have been able to experience that firsthand on my team. And really during this time, that's defined what we've been doing here at the Porsche Experience Center Atlanta and change everything about the way that we do business. And that couldn't have happened without having the diverse team that we have coming in with so many different perspectives, delivering some really creative, off-the-wall ideas in order to make sure that we could keep business running. I think we can keep women in focus by supporting one another, championing one another through mentorship. My career, especially my career at Porsche, has been shaped by strong women who have taken the time to support and encourage me. And there's really nothing that makes me more excited than growing up in this organization and growing in my career and knowing that I'm going to be able to look back and help another young woman through her career. I'm getting goosebumps as we talk about it now because it means so much to me, the time that those women took to spend with me, to encourage me, to empower me, to give me the confidence that I needed to succeed in my career and at this organization. And so knowing that it's coming to be the time where it's my opportunity to help women of the next generation and share that confidence and share that enthusiasm with them, that's something that really motivates me on a daily basis and gets me excited to come to my job every day. Something that I've really only recently come upon is the fact that no one's going to be better at making a decision, personally speaking, for myself than me. I think especially when I was younger, I used to really rely on looking towards other people, friends, family, asking them for advice. What should I do? What do you think? And as I've gotten older, I've really started to realize that I'm the only person who can make the best decision for myself. I know my circumstance best. I'm most intimately acquainted with it. So I've learned to have more confidence in making and trusting my own decisions. And professionally speaking, of course, it's really helpful to be able to bounce something off of somebody else. You want to gut check somebody before you're making a big decision at work. It's helpful to have a manager to speak to or a colleague to confide in. But there's a lot of situations in which that's not always possible. So I think trusting those instincts and trusting the company that hired you, right? I know Porsche hired me because they saw somebody who is capable of making the decisions that they have entrusted me with. Having the confidence that Porsche has had in me to make those decisions, to do the best I can, do my research, and at the end of the day, if there's nobody else to lean on from a professional standpoint and personally, you've got to trust those gut instincts. You've got to make the decision. You can't dwell on it too long and move on and find the next challenge. And if you make the wrong decision, guess what? That's a learning opportunity. So you learn from that, you grow from that, you move on, and next time you're going to make a better decision. Self-care is so important, especially during these times. I'm a really big fan of the old adage that you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of other people. And I think in a team context, that's also true, right? So you've got to be taking care of yourself or you're not going to be the strongest team member that you can possibly be. Taking time off, even though most of us are working from home, is something that I think a lot of people who are used to working in the office have trouble with. I know it's something I struggled with, but I think that's so important. So I went a number of days before I decided, okay, I've got to take some time off. And even though I'm still at home, take care of some things for myself. Just knocking a couple of things off the to-do list personally helps me feel better. Reading a book, going for a walk or a hike, helping you recharge your batteries and sort of reset and come back fresh and just sort of getting your mind on something different. I believe that can also actually help you at work when you come back. And especially during this time, something that I think is really important is recognizing when maybe recharging the batteries isn't working and you might need to reach out for more help. So I think mental wellness is incredibly important, and knowing when to reach out to someone else and ask for help when taking a little bit of time off isn't doing the trick. There's no shame in reaching out for help. There are plenty of people who during this time have been experiencing some unique challenges, and I don't think there's any shame in asking for help. There's a quote by author Nora Roberts that's really been sticking with me lately, and of course I'm going to be paraphrasing here, but when asked about how she manages work-life balance, she said, "The key to juggling is to know that the balls in the air are plastic and glass, and it's a matter of which one can afford to drop." Obviously, it's those plastic balls that can afford to drop. And that really helped me reframe my mindset around work-life balance. I think it was always that very binary black and white question that I considered. And shifting my focus to evaluating each circumstance as it arrives and thinking, is this something that is going to bounce when it drops, has really helped me reframe my mindset and approach challenges in a much more creative way.
Awesome. Well, here we are. It is just about time for our keynote. But before we get to our keynote, I just want to remind everyone, you guys all know, but the chat box is really the place for everyone to network and connect with each other. Feel free to put your information in there, say hi to each other. You know, these days, since we can't be together, we have to connect somehow. And the chat has turned out to be quite a good place for that. In addition, if you have questions for our speaker, please put those in the Q&A box. I will get to those if I get to questions, but if I do get to questions, I will most likely look there first. So go ahead and put those in there. I also just want to remind everybody that after our healthcare panel is after the keynote, and then after the healthcare panel is our workshops, our 3 workshops. And the way that those are going to work is you need to stick around until the end of the healthcare panel, and then we are going to put up 3 bit.ly addresses for you. You're going to copy the address of the room that you want to go to, put it in a new browser window, and then go to your room. So you do need to stay till the end of the next panel in order to get your bit.ly links for those. But we're really looking forward to those. The roundtables yesterday were amazing. I'm really looking forward to the roundtables today. So it's great. So let's get this show on the road. We are now happily joined by our keynote speaker, entertainment attorney, and owner of LaPolte Law, Dina LaPolte. Welcome, Dina.
Hi, Portia, with the Portia sponsorship.
I know, the synergy was crazy, right? I feel like I've spent my whole life being the person that, I say, hi, my name is Portia. And people are like, what, your parents wanted a car? Ha ha.
Well, they should give you one. I mean, I'm voting.
I'll take it.
I would have negotiated that.
Thank you. I love that. See? We're gonna work.
Anyway.
Dina, I'm excited to talk to you for a zillion billion reasons, but one of the reasons is because, we spoke to Jeff Harleston yesterday, and he had a path to the music business that was a little bit alternative in that he was a litigator before he came to the music business. So he sort of didn't think of himself as, he didn't think that he was going to be in the music business, but you've had music in your heart for a long time. So I think it was a little bit more natural for you. You want to talk about, what were your earliest days? Because you were an artist, right? You're a creator.
Yes, I was a creator, and I was raised in an activist household. So I had a very interesting growing up. My mom was an activist, and she was an artist, a painter, and she had a paint studio in her house. So I learned all about, the Black Panther Party and Sojourner Truth and all. This is how I grew up. And then I grew up in music. So by the time, I was in high school, I knew I wanted to do music for the rest of my life. And that's when I ended up going to college for music. And the one thing I realized in college, like literally it was like 6 months into college, I realized like everybody's better than me. I mean, being from a small town, I was like a big fish in a little pond, but then going to a college in a city where everybody's in the music department, and it was like, oh my God, everybody's better than me. So I really had to find my trajectory because failure was not an option. There was nothing else I was passionate about. Right. So I, had to figure it out, and I became, good at the business side of it, which wasn't a thing back then, by the way.
Right. No doubt.
No, now people go to school and major in music industry, music business. Back then, it was either classical or jazz. That's it, So when I'm like putting on concerts at the concert committee, like the music department chairwoman, like looked down on me, literally looked down on me because I should be like in my room composing concertos and not like booking Joan Jett and the Black Hearts at the student union.
Did you actually do that? Tell me you did that.
What's that?
Tell me you actually did that.
I did. And Wendy O. Williams from the Plasmatics.
Are you serious? Oh my God.
Oh yeah. And I got in a lot of trouble doing that because back then, with student union money, how you get, you pay these student union fees. So you're on these committees and you just got to spend the money. Well, I was like charging people. So I was making money for the student union. And then I got, in trouble for that.
Oh my
God. I was
God.
like, these people are really fucked up. Like the education, I was like, okay, this is not how you teach somebody. Okay. So I had to learn. So my path of learning was, what not to do.
Right.
I learned a lot from what not to do.
Yeah.
And what to do. So anyway.
And that's a good teacher for everyone, right? Is what not to do. And sometimes you have to just try things and find out. What not to do.
What I don't like.
So you ended up interning at a law firm, right?
I did, but it wasn't like I okay, so I came out west from being back east. And, I graduated with a degree in music. It took me 7.5 years to get my bachelor's degree because I was also a touring musician. I taught guitar lessons to kids. I was a personal assistant for a famous rock star when he was, in the United States. So I was doing all these things. And that band that I worked for, that guy in the band moved out west. So I came out west and I was staying with my aunt and uncle up in the Bay Area before I was going to come to LA, but he died. And then suddenly I found myself in California in the, East Bay with a degree in guitar and not a lot of job opportunities. I started playing music, and that's when, I met a couple people. I met this girl who was actually studying for the LSAT, and I ended up doing that. So if you would have asked me back then, like, oh, are you going to be a lawyer? I didn't really think about it. All I knew is that, I needed to figure out something to do in the music business. I knew I didn't want to be a manager. It's the hardest job in the business. I didn't want to be a booking agent. I can't add, so I didn't want to be an accountant. So like lawyer was the only trajectory for me, and I was good at the business. So that's what I did. But when I moved to LA after graduating from law school, I didn't really have a lot of job opportunities. Everybody says to me, Portia, wow, what made you decide to open your own firm? And I go, what? And they go, what made you decide to open your own firm? People ask me, and I go, I didn't have any options. Nobody wanted me. Okay.
Right.
I went to the wrong school. I'm a woman. I'm dyslexic and I'm a lesbian. Who's going to hire me? This was in 1997. I had zero opportunities.
Yeah.
Zero. So when I became an intern, it's because my roommate at the time was Miss June from Playboy. She was a playmate. She was my sister's ex-girlfriend. And she introduced me to her friend who wrote this book called Feng Shui for Beginners. His name was Richard Webster. And he's like, well, maybe you could work for our entertainment lawyer. And that was where I interned, but it wasn't like I got a job. I like picked up his dry cleaning and helped get it, blew up his kids' basketball and stuff like that. And I worked my way into his heart, and I ended up staying there for a couple of years, but, wasn't an easy trajectory.
No, no doubt. And during that time that you were there, some important things happened. I guess he was working on some sort of contract for Tupac Shakur's estate.
Yeah, well, Tupac had just died in 1996. And so this was 1998. This was early 1998. A lot of things happened in my personal life, which which is I had a horrible drinking and drug problem. So after I became a lawyer, probably one of the reasons why I couldn't get a job is I was unhireable. So this poor guy gave me an internship. I was waiting tables to support myself, but that is the definition of unmanageable, And I ended up getting sober through actually the stylist at the Playboy Mansion, Michael Holdaway. Actually didn't, he and the Playmates did an intervention on me. I ended up getting sober in April of 1998. And during my internship, one of the things that they were working on at the law firm was the estate of Tupac Shakur, and everything was a mess. Like all these people had sued, songwriters and producers, and everybody sued because Tupac didn't have a music lawyer when he died. So, as people might not know, if you are in the music business, like you have to have all your songwriter split agreements done, your producer agreements done, all these things have to be in writing. That's how, what the Copyright Act says about copyrights. Like everybody owns it equal unless you have it in writing. And as you know, industry customs is we don't split up copyrights equally. It's like whoever writes the music gets 50% and whoever writes the lyrics get 50%. These are industry customs. And if you have 5 people writing the lyrics, they're splitting up their 50%. And usually it's the producer that writes the music, so they get 50%. Anyway, so the whole thing was a mess. And I ended up, because Tupac died without a will, everything was tied up in the court. So even though the firm I was interning for was doing all the agreements, everything had to be approved by the judge because Tupac died intestate without a will. So we had to go down to these petition hearings in downtown Los Angeles just to get the judge to agree, to approve songwriter split agreements, producer agreements, all this stuff had to be approved. And in August of '98, I met Afeni Shakur. She was there. My face almost fell off. I recognized her right away, the way I grew up, you know what I mean? I was more familiar with Afeni Shakur than I was with her son. And when I met her, I was like, oh my God, Afeni Shakur. And I just started like reciting her history.
Wow.
And she was like, wow. And then she started dropping slogans. Oh, baby, one day at a time. And I put God first. And these are things that we hear when we get sober and we go into a 12-step program. So I said to her, are you in recovery? And she goes, oh, girl, 13 years off crack cocaine. And I go, oh my God, I'm 4 months sober. And she like hugs me and she's like, I knew I loved you. Anyway, the guy I was interning for was horrified by this whole conversation. But that's when my bond with her began. And I got to tell you, besides my mother, she's been the most influential woman in my life. Wow. I mean, this woman believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself.
Yeah.
And I tell you, I started my own firm, not because I wanted to. Nobody wanted me. I mean, she would tell everybody as I was interning there, and I kept doing better and better and better. And she would tell everybody, Dina LaPolt's opening her own firm. That's how I opened my own firm, because she went around telling everybody I was doing it. So, I had the head lawyer for Interscope call me. And he goes, Afeni told me you're opening your own law firm and I have to help you.
And did he? Or she?
Yeah, he did. He goes, so what can I do to help? Anyway.
That's incredible. And you had a relationship with her all the way till the end of her life, because she passed a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's incredible. Well, that's, I mean, I think it's important, especially for young people who are listening to this conversation and who are always interested in like, how do we get to the places that we get? It's like a lot of life is serendipity, right? And it's being in the right place at the right time, and the relationships that you build with people, I think, and when sometimes people offer you a helping hand and you have to take those opportunities, you have to reach out, allow yourself to be helped. That's another thing. Allowing yourself to be helped, I think, is an amazing part of everybody's journey. Because I think, I think a lot of kids, especially since, as you're saying, when we were kids, there were no music biz programs. Like that was not a thing, right? And now I feel like it's feeding the narrative in this culture that there's a clear path, right? That you can decide when you're 18 years old, oh, I know I'm going to go boop, 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 boop. And it's like almost never works like that. Life is a confluence of crazy accidents and opportunities that come together.
Yeah. I mean, even with the Music Modernization Act, like, I'd been involved in some policy stuff because one of the things that happened, 7 years before the Music Modernization Act, is that there was this leftist professor, and I say leftist because they typically don't believe in copyright. So he was trying to advocate for a compulsory license and a sample and a remix. So right now, if you sample somebody's music, you have to get their permission. And he was trying to advocate that goes away and that anybody could sample anything. So I ended up with one of my clients, Steven Tyler, writing a comment paper to fight against this. And I learned how to kind of do that. And I was involved in a policy situation, kind of like doing that. And then, we formed SONA, as you know, the Songwriters in North America. I formed that with Kay Hanley and Michelle Lewis in 2015. So we had been loosely working on these bills with a couple Congress members and Bart Herbison from the NSAI, who's a dear friend, and David Israelite at the NMPA. We were loosely working on some of these bills, but it wasn't until I had a near fatal illness in 2017 where this all just came together. I mean, I almost died from a deadly neck infection and I was not able to go to work. And I was highly, highly contagious when I got out of the rehabilitation place. I couldn't even walk. So I had a pick in my arm, and I had a nurse that came over every day to give me IV antibiotics. I was highly, highly susceptible to, anything. And, my immune system was low. So I had to stay home for 3 months. And during that time, that's when David Israelite and Bart Herbison and this Congress member called me to say, hey, we're working on this bill. Do you want to help? And I was home. I had nothing else to do. Like, I had somebody, Sarah Scott, who's the managing attorney at my firm, running my firm. So it was because of this happen to me, I had all this time to just like read and research and help with this legislation on behalf of songwriters, which would have never happened had that not happened to me. So it's like life takes you on these paths. And sometimes you have to say to yourself, like, for every hardship that I've ever been through, always something has happened, because God has 3 answers for you. Yes, not now, and no. And, you just got to know, is like, you have to trust your higher power. And it's hard to do that, when you don't have concrete answers, like, you know what I mean? Like, to have faith, but that's when the very way you have to have faith. And I always say to myself, when I get stressed, I go, you know what? If it's meant for me, it's not going to pass me by.
Yeah.
But if it's not meant for me, it will pass me by. Mm-hmm. So you just got to go with life. It's like this roller coaster.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I had just graduated from college, and my best friend and I were in a car with my mom. She was driving us somewhere, and we were just both bitching and moaning about, like, I don't know what to do. I feel like we've been dropped off a cliff. What do I do with my life? And my mom just was like, shut up. Something will happen. That's the worst advice I've ever heard. She was totally right.
Yeah. You just got to let it go, And I know it's like right now with COVID and what's going on with all the policy stuff and the election, and everybody's fucking nutty, excuse my French, and
very nutty.
You just got to like down to basics. Like, every morning I get up and I say, thank you, God, for giving me, I'm healthy. I'm with my family. I'm with my kids. I'm with my wife. I have people that love me. I have clients that rely on me. I have my parents. I have my brothers and sisters. And like, and I just got to thank God for all these positive things. And I write a gratitude list, because no matter what happens at work, if I don't like this, or I don't like this, or this is happening, whatever it is, or I turn on the TV and I'm watching this election madness, I have to always stick to basics. Like, what do I have today to be grateful for? And once I do that gratitude list, everything kind of falls into place.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't even tell you, my husband has the same number of years clean as you do. And living in the house with someone who is clean and sober and has that NA or AA 12-step perspective, honestly, has been so fabulous for me, because it brings gratitude into your life on a daily basis, which I think is critical. I think we get we feel very entitled in this culture. A lot of times we feel like things should go our way, or whatever, we deserve better than we're getting. And, at the end of the day, we have to go back to gratitude every time. So hard right now. It's crazy.
Yeah, I always just say, I got it. You do the next right thing.
Mm-hmm.
Next right thing. As long as you just keep doing the next right thing,
Okay. Yeah.
Keeping your side of the street clean. Everything's going to work out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to pick your brain, because, you're an amazing person with a fabulously interesting life and a great path and a great story. This conference is about diversity and inclusion and equity, right? Because these are conversations that we're, thank God, having in our culture and in our industry this summer, and, in a new way. Like, we've had them for years, but it feels different this time. It feels like people are serious. Companies are putting money up. Companies are hiring diversity officers and other people, and truly understanding the changes that need to be made, or at least they appear to be. From your perspective, what is success going to look like for us as an industry over the next few years?
Well, this is okay. So we are in this fabulous time, and I'm so glad that Congressman John Lewis got to see the real Black Lives Matter movement happen before he passed away, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg, to be honest, because things are going to change now. I mean, for years, 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 and years. I mean, the entire music business has been broken and launched off the backs of Black music artists. And this is just a reality. I mean, even in recording agreements, the word master recording comes from 70 years ago when we recorded on analog tape. They made the master. And then when you needed copies, they called them the slave. Like, this is terminology in record deals, like, and we got to change all this. And now when we're negotiating record deals, we cross that shit out. We don't talk about that anymore. It's outdated, and the systemic racism that we have just in the music business alone is, once you realize it becomes like a shining, you go, oh my God, how did I not see this the whole time? And I think now is such an important part of the music business, because people now are saying no more. Like, my client is this Warner Brothers executive named Ray Daniels. He's an A&R person, and he's amazing. Ray Daniels, he's based in Atlanta. He wrote this op-ed in Billboard called Dear White Music Executive. It's very powerful. Very powerful. And when he first wrote it as anonymous. And because he was so afraid, but it spoke to every Black music executives in the music business. It's like all these white people telling Black people what's going to work in their culture. Stop. We don't do this in country music. You don't have the guy or the girl in LA calling up the guy in Nashville going, hey, Chuck, I think you should use this as your single for the next, Toby Keith record. He would just hang up on you and probably say, like, call you a name. But we do this in the music business, and it's terrible. And he wrote this article, saying, Dear White Music Executive, and every Black person in the music business go, oh my God, this is how I was feeling. And so everybody knew on the side, behind closed doors, that it was Ray that wrote it. And he became really stressed out that his bosses were going to find out. I said, Ray, I got your back. Okay. And I called the chairman of Warner Brothers, and I said, look, I'm going to tell you something that's really important. And you can you're going to do the wrong thing, or you're going to do the right thing. And I hope you do the right thing. Okay. But I'm going to tell you something that's going to freak you out. And Ray Daniels wrote this article, and he goes, oh my God. And I said, we need change. We need change. And the way it's all being talked about is so important. Like, even at my own firm, like, for the first time in probably 15 years at least, I had 3 people of color that worked for me, and they ended up all leaving within 6 months, like within a 6-month period, which was unheard of. And we needed to hire another lawyer. And I will refuse to hire another lawyer until I find the right Black woman that I can hire. And I found her. Her name is Mariah Comer, and she's, just took the bar exam, and she's brilliant. And she starts back with us because the bar exam, as you guys, I don't know if you know, but it was pushed 3 different times this summer. Oh, wow. So imagine studying for the bar 3 times. I mean, studying for the bar 1 time, I want to shoot myself, but 3. So anyway, you've got to make a decision. The easier, softer way is always right in front of you, but it's not sometimes the right way. Change doesn't happen unless you have a conscious decision to say, I'm going to effectuate change. And it might take you a minute. Like, you might have to look harder. But you know what? It is what it is. And you just got to really look. But right now, there's a lot happening, and it's on, everybody's talking about it. Everybody's talking about diversity. Everybody.
Well, it's great that you say that, because we had this HR panel yesterday that would just blew my mind completely, because the way these HR executives were talking about it is as if your business is a puzzle, right? And you're looking for just the right pieces. And sometimes you find a person that you think could be the right piece, So what can you do to nurture that person and help them along and bring them to the place where they're going to fit perfectly in your organization? And that just blew my mind, because I was like, that's pretty much what you're saying. You found this woman who's the perfect person, and she, you made the investment. You said, all right, I'll wait till you pass the bar, and we can work together.
Right.
I just think, I think looking at it like that is so much richer than the way that I feel like we've looked at it in the past, where like there's a job and we need a body, right? Like,
Yeah, no, and everybody's in the firm is struggling. We're working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. I don't know how everybody had time to get showered and go to work, but I was very clear. We're going to find the right person at my firm, and that's what we need. We need that. I need that for my soul. Okay. But we need that as an industry. And I'll tell you this other thing too. I always tell people, they go, well, how do you know if you don't have diversity in your life? It's really simple. Here's what everybody, I want you to do. Everybody go to the arts and crafts store and get a bunch of different beads. Get white beads, red beads, yellow beads, black beads, brown beads. Okay. And then get a cup, bring them home and get a cup. And then put the color of the bead in your cup with everybody that predominantly is in your household. And then put a bead in the cup of the color of everybody who's predominantly that you work with. Then put a bead in the cup of everybody, predominant race of everybody, the color that lives in your neighborhood. Everybody do that. And people are surprised to see there's a lot of white beads in that cup. Well, that's an issue. So that's how you look. And I got to tell you something, my cup was getting a little white.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, the studies are there. Every study that's ever been done on diversity in the workplace shows that diverse workplaces do better work. They are more efficient. They make more money. They have better strategies. They come up with better products and services that people really want, because they have a wider variety of people that they're selling. I love your analogy about, if someone from LA called here in Nashville, because I'm in Nashville, I can only imagine people would have a heart attack. They'd be like, what do you know, big city person? You don't know about country music. That's ridiculous.
Right, but we do this all the time with Black music. You have all these white executives telling the Black people who they're going to sign. What song is going to be a single? Right. What's going to work in their own culture? Frankly, it's pretty insulting.
It is.
When you boil it down like that, it not only has to change, it adamantly needs to change, because it's downright insulting.
It's insulting, exactly, right. And the fact that it's continued for so long is even worse. That it's just insult to injury on a daily basis.
Right.
So I want to talk about, we're talking about how Tupac died intestate. Everybody knows Prince also died intestate. There have been a number of artists who've passed without a will, and everyone has seen the struggles and the problems from that. My question is, I've started to feel, companies have popped up in the last 5 or 10 years that have allowed artists to, first of all, become more educated about the business side. And second of all, they're willing to make different kinds of deals. Like I think about Empire, for example, or United Masters, these companies that are out there that are doing different deals that look different from the old standard. And I want to know, as the lawyer in the equation, are you seeing artists coming to the table these days more educated, with a better idea of what they actually own, like what it means to own copyright?
Yeah, it is a big thing now. Look, and the good news is streaming, believe it or not, has become the predominant sales platform. You know what I mean? And there's 2 different types of streaming. There's interactive streaming, which is on demand. And there's non-interactive streaming, which is not on demand. So like Sirius Radio in your car or Deezer, that's non-interactive. But then interactive is like Spotify and Apple Music, where you can program your playlists and all this other stuff. So the record companies make a fortune for streaming, a fortune, because record companies can negotiate in a free market. So whenever the record companies are making a lot of money, it's a healthy ecosystem, because they're the companies that put up all the risk money. Publishers are very risk adverse. First of all, they're all regulated. So everything in music publishing, 75% of songwriters' income is regulated by the government through antiquated, provisions of the Copyright Act and the consent decrees that govern the behaviors of ASCAP and BMI. That we've since fixed some of this in the Music Modernization Act, not all, but some of it. So publishers and songwriters make 13 times less that copyright than the copyright in the recording. So because record companies are doing so well with money, fuck you money, actually, you can get a lot out of them. You can actually get a lot out of them. You can call them up now. If you have an artist that now has a hit song that's been signed for a while, you can call up just out of the blue, renegotiate that whole deal. Songwriters that have hit songs, because terrestrial radio in the United States is still the biggest market trigger. I mean, believe it or not, a hit at pop radio in America reaches 110 million people a day. That is more than YouTube and Spotify put together. Okay, it is a huge market trigger. And, having a hit at pop radio is the difference between, playing the Bluebird on a Friday night or selling out 3 nights at the Bridgestone Arena. Like, that's the difference, So these things are happening, which gives creators a lot of power. The other thing that's been very amazing for creators, amazing. Since the coronavirus, we've had issues with touring, of course. A lot of musicians and artists have lost a lot of income because touring has been stalled. But what's been really good for music makers, creators, has been TikTok, Triller. Now they're finally paying. They got licenses because they knew they were going to get sued. Like the songwriters and the publishers sued the shit out of Peloton years ago because they tried to argue what kind of license it is. It's like, look, bitch, put lipstick on a pig. It's a pig. Don't call it a moose. It's a pig. And these people that don't want to do that get sued. Okay, so TikTok got sued, was going to get sued, and they knew they were going to get sued, so they got all their licenses together. Now Triller, it's got to get their licenses together because they're going to get sued if they don't get their licenses together. And this has been great because look at Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. This song is 43 years old, and it's now in the top 5 at pop radio because of TikTok. So it's not like TikTok pays a fortune, but it's a platform that allows people to be rediscovered, discovered, and all kinds of things.
Yeah, and catalog is, that's I always think that the services are really incredible in that they are allowing for the revival of catalog. The Dreams is the most obvious recent one, but there have been tons of examples, and that's incredible because that can revitalize an older artist's career. Even artists that weren't very popular. Fleetwood Mac was very popular, but I ran a record label for 13 years. It's a 30-year-old label, and we have an artist on there. It's a 27-year-old song. It was put on a TikTok video, and now it's number 3 at our streaming every week, and this is, these women are like not in this band anymore, 27 years old, but it's incredible.
It's good. So these types of things, these new technologies, provided they pay for music, and look, it took people a minute. Even when Spotify came about, they didn't want to pay for music, and they got sued by the songwriters and the publishers. And, labels can do all these equity deals. Songwriters and publishers can't. We're regulated by the government. We have antitrust concerns. We have all this stuff. So we can't negotiate in a free market. That's why Republicans love copyright, okay? Because Republicans hate regulation. They hate government regulation, whether it's healthcare or affirmative action or copyright, they hate regulation. So, Democrats deregulate. They don't, they like regulation. So, they fight against the deregulation. So, when we were lobbying for the Music Modernization Act, I would bring my Democratic clients to see the Democrats, and I'd bring my Republican clients to see the Republicans. And it was all about how you presented things. So I would say to the Republicans, oh, it's our private property. We can't negotiate in a free market. There's all these compulsory licenses. They hate compulsory license, compel. There's all this regular government decrees that, and they're like, this is terrible. And then you go across the hall to the Democrats and you go, we're all small businesses. We have no health insurance. We can't unionize.
Oh my
And the
God.
next thing you know, like they're signing on to the same shit. It's so crazy.
As long as
Oh,
you know how to do it, you know how to do it. You know how to talk to them, make it happen. What do you think? Speaking of, there's all this conversation right now. I mean, they've been doing hearings about the consent decrees. Do you think we're going to see any more adjustment of those?
listen, we're in another consent decree investigation right now by the DOJ, but everybody at the DOJ is looking for a job. Okay, because the DOJ, it's a part of the administration. So whoever's the president really appoints the people who are going to work at the DOJ, except for the staffers that end up staying there. The people that run it are governed by, who's in the White House. And all these big people at the DOJ are kind of looking for a job. So yeah, we're in this consent decree hearing, but it's a trying time right now. It's a trying time.
Nothing will get done till the election is over.
That's right.
Which is actually sort of true with all of our lives. I feel like nothing's going to get done until this election is passed.
I mean, people don't realize, the funny thing is, this is why the music business is so perfect for me. Growing up as an activist, where we were very involved in policy growing up because my mother and my father actually, started his life as a prison guard, and then ended up getting his degree, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and ended up running educational systems in maximum security prisons for 30 years,
Wow.
Which in my small town was very controversial. Like, my father was very much into let's educate people that are in prison, and they'd get their college degrees. And he was at Greenhaven, which is a maximum security prison in New York, for 25 years. But growing up, it was very controversial. You know what I mean? So I grew up in this great household. So the music business is great because everything in the music business, people don't realize, is all governed out of Washington. So the Copyright Act, is federal, and it's federal law, and it's all governed. It governs our copyrights, both master recording, both the recording and the musical composition. And then the Lanham Act, which is also federal, governs the trademark rights. So all of this stuff is like policy and lobbying and activism, and that's how you get stuff done.
Yeah. Well, and I as I always say to people about the music business, the music business is a patchwork of historical accidents, but it's also a lot that's been codified in law. So I'm always so amused when people try to come into the music business because they think the music business is simple or easy. I feel like that's what we've been dealing with tech for the last 15 years, is people showing up from the tech world being like, what's wrong with you people? Why can't you figure this music out? It's got to be so simple. I'll come help. And then they're like, discover how difficult it is. Oh my God.
Because the music business is so complicated is why you have this music lawyer specialty. I mean, that's also great. So for every manager, of your clients, they always have the client's music lawyer glued to their side, because all these different laws and all these different rights, whether it's the rights in the recording, the rights in the composition, trademark rights, rights of publicity, which is the commercial use of your image. All these rights are governed under different laws, and they're all monetized differently. It's very, very complicated. Mm-hmm. So I always say to people, being a music lawyer is like being a technician. It's like being a surgeon.
Right, because you're working with actually stuff that's already in law. So, precise little cuts here and there. Absolutely. Yeah. So, are you finding that artists are coming to you now with more of an understanding of this industry? Do you feel like artists are coming in more empowered, or is that still just kind of a crapshoot?
Yes, and yes. And the reason being is that by the time an artist has people interested in them, they've already had to learn the hard knocks. So, you all of a sudden have something taken off, and it's like it's taken years to get to that point, and they've had a lot of missteps. Like I said, the biggest learning lessons are what not to do. They've aligned themselves sometimes with shoddy representatives. You know, they've learned, they've entered into terrible agreements. So by the time they come to me, it's like they're pretty well known or established, and they're coming to me because shit's not right. You know what I mean? And that's kind of, so they're empowered by the fact that they've, you know, that they've made some bad business decisions.
That's an interesting way to put it, you know, because I wish that they didn't have to make those bad business decisions right away, you know?
Life, that's how you get there. You know what I mean? Gone are the days where you just write this song in your bedroom and you play it at the club and you get this massive record deal. That doesn't happen. It does not happen.
I completely agree with you, but I feel like we're constantly fighting against culture, because culture is showing these kids, you know, my 10-year-old thinks that all he has to do to be famous is to just make one video and put it on YouTube.
I mean, look, it's a culture. I mean, and I don't, it's a different time. You know, right now, I mean, there's real professions in this. I mean, a lot of my friends' parents are like, oh, we don't let our kids go on YouTube. And I go, why? Well, they can't play games. It's like, I represent some gamers that are like 22 years old that are making $1 million a year. Like, this is a profession. Like, who cares if you're a YouTube kid? You know, I represent a lot of influencers that are YouTube kids. And you know what? A lot of them give back. You know, during the pandemic, they're giving money away. They're doing this, they're doing that. Proceeds are going to charities. You know what? They're doing very well. Like, this is a thing. Like, this is life now. So,
Yeah.
you know, some people might not agree with it, but, you know, this is where we are in today's world.
I just fear, Dina, that, you know, it's like the music industry and the movie industry have the same problem where we're like glamorous, right? We're fabulous. So people are like, ooh, I want to do that. And it's like, they just think they see the bottom and then they see like superstardom, but they don't see any of the stuff in the middle. And that's what you're talking about. You know, it's the school of hard knocks. Like, you have to try and fail.
They'll get there, Portia, because they will try and fail. So they'll have a TikTok video that might go viral, or a YouTube video, and then they'll make a series of bad decisions. And it just is. It's like, okay, well, this person's my manager, okay? My cousin Vinny. Well, then they realize that all the money's gone, and I let the guy across the street be my lawyer. Well, I didn't really understand that he was a personal injury lawyer. And then my Aunt Betty's doing my accounting. Well, wow, what, I owe how much in taxes? Should happen. And the next thing you know, they come to the real people. I always tell people go, God, that's expensive. And I go, really? You think that's expensive? Try hiring amateurs and see how expensive that's going to be.
God, yes, that's a great point. So what do you suggest? I mean, just if you were speaking, if there are artists watching this, what do you suggest to them in terms of how do they get themselves as educated as possible before making a bunch of mistakes?
Go to these seminars, get Don Passman's book, All You Need to Know About the Music Business. It's the Bible. It's very easy to read, and everything in that book you're going to need to know. You won't need to read it in one sitting. You read it as you go. Okay. So it's like, oh, I'm going to do a record deal. Let me read that chapter. Or I want to learn about management deals. Let me read that chapter. Oh, the kid across the street wants to manage me. Let me read about that. So you're just, you know, but get that book and then, you know, just create. Don't worry about the business. Like, the business, it'll be there. You might have to make some missteps and make some bad decisions, but that's part of life. You know what I mean? We become who we are by the decisions we make. I always tell people, if I had an easy path, I wouldn't be who I am, a badass bitch that's not afraid of anything. You know what I mean? It's like, I am the only law firm of its stature in the music industry owned by a sole female who's dyslexic and is a lesbian. Okay. It's like, I got here because of all the times I failed. I failed and I got up because the universe has my back, you know, and I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't have all of those setbacks. The hardships are what define you. I have a thing on my email. And I've had it. My friend Steve Siegel's had it for 25 years, and I've known him for 25 years. And I have it on my email too, and we'll be connected forever. But it says, tough times never last, tough people do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I feel like we dissolve into conversations about personality when we get, to this stage that it makes me stressed out and nervous, because I really feel like, yes, of course, we all have different personalities, but there's also something very much to working at becoming tougher. Do you know what I mean? Because like you said, it's a school of hard knocks. Like it's a tough world, and you have to keep going and keep getting up, even if it's hard for you, even if it's scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's what we have to say. Do you have any final words? I've really enjoyed talking to you.
No, this has been really fun. And thank you, all these people that I can't see. It's a weird time, but stay strong, stay safe, go out and vote. We have 2 weeks left. Nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you're not happy, it's not going to change unless we make changes.
Exactly. Thank you so much. What a delight to talk to you. We'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye, Portia.
All right, you guys. That was amazing. What a privilege to talk to her. So what we're in now is called the Portia Power Break, and we are so delighted. We are going to have one of my favorite artists, my friend Shelley Fairchild, is coming up. And to get us started, I would like to introduce you to Brianna May, who is the brand partnerships and sports marketing person at Porsche Cars North America. She's on our liaison team and has helped us put this amazing event together. So she's been so great. Welcome, Brianna.
Hello. Hi, Portia. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? It's good to see you.
Doing good. It's good to see you too. Hi, everyone. Like she said, my name is Brianna May, and I'm on the brand partnership team for Porsche Cars North America. I'm really excited that you guys are all here today and that you are enjoying your conference experience. I'm here to introduce our performer for the day. This Mississippi native was named one of Rolling Stone Country's top 10 artists you need to know. She has toured with the likes of Martina Bride and Keith Urban, and as a songwriter, Shelley has had cuts on Little Big Town, Tanya Tucker, and more. Her crowd-funded record, Buffalo, was featured on iTunes Country New Music homepage for 10 weeks, and her songs have appeared on Grey's Anatomy's Netflix Selling Sunset, NBC's The Titans Games, as well as other ABC and CBS programming. Her new album, Shelley and the Whiskey Wolves of the West, is set to be released in December of 2020. Everyone welcome Shelley Fairchild.
Hi.
Hi, Shelley.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Brianna, for that introduction. I wanted to give a little bit of an idea of what this song I'm about to sing was about. I wrote this song thinking of diversity and inclusion. I wrote this song actually after a conversation that my little nephew, who was 4, had with me about some religious beliefs that his parents had taught him, and it was about me being married to my wife, and and how it may not be the right thing for me. And I just thought, I was about to go into a writing session, and I thought, what do I want to say to little kids growing up and young people that may be having a hard time with feeling like they actually belong and can have their faith and everything stay intact and feel like they were, made to be who they are, and it's okay, and they're not wrong. So I wrote this song, and it goes like this. That prison in your mind gonna grow a little bit colder. Oh, it's trying to take your life, let it go. Oh. That past that you can't fight gonna make you a little bit bolder. Oh, you're gonna win this time, better know. Oh. A change gonna come, yes, on the way. Worry no more, it's a better day. Worry no more, child, worry no more. The chains gonna break, gonna watch on fly. Hold your head up, let her feel that fire. Worry no more, child, worry no more. Get on your feet and run. There's a light shining inside. Feel the hurting come undone. Feel it go. Oh, yeah. Heaven help your heart keep beating. Let your soul remind you. Your life, child, is your world. Here we go. Oh, yeah. A change gonna come. Yeah, it's on the way. Worry no more. It's a better day. Worry no more, child, worry no more. The chains gon' break, gonna watch them flare. Hold your head up, gotta feel that fire. Worry no more, child, worry no more. Worry no more. Oh, worry no more. Said, worry no more, worry no more, no. Worry no more, worry no more. Change gon' come, yeah, it's on the way. Worry no more, it's a better day. Worry no more, child, worry no more. The chains gon' break, gonna watch them burn. Hold your head up, gotta feel that fire. Worry no more, child, worry no more. I say worry no more, worry no more, worry no more. Worry no more, child, worry no more. Woo. That's Eric. Thank you, Eric, for playing. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you, Shelly. That was amazing. Your voice is amazing. I love it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you to everybody for commenting. It's hard to read the chat while it's like,
yeah, the chat's going crazy for you. They're loving it.
That's fun.
So in kind of the spirit of your song and just the Driving Change Conference, I do have a quick question for you. When you think about change in the music industry, what is it that you'd like to see for the future generations?
I have this thing that I always say now. The High Women came out with a song called Crowded Table, and I just remember like the first thought that I had was like, when are we going to be allowed to come to the table? You know, so I am a lesbian and part of the LGBTQIA community, and I have a lot of friends who are now we're seeing a lot of big like a kind of surge with some Black artists in country music and here in Nashville, and which is amazing and wonderful because we've had so many amazing artists of all kinds of different artists that aren't just white, you know, blonde or male or whatever. And it's like I think we're starting to get a seat at the table, but that's the one thing that I would really love and that I'm still fighting for, and that I encourage people that are coming up and moving to town here in Nashville, especially to just, you know, fight for your seat at the table, and hopefully that will come around soon. We just continue to make music and continue to, you know, show up and be and speak our truth, and that's all that, you know, I think that we can do. So did I answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. No, that was great. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes from the music industry from this event, and as well as you. So I think we have another song from you, Shelly, if you'd like to close us out for Portia Power Hour.
Yes. Portia Power Hour. Thank you, Portia. Thank you, Music Biz, for having me. And so I thought I would do a little song that I do in my show that's just basically, it's just a jam. So I'm always like, you know, I want everybody to feel this. It's just to feel good. It was written, I wanted Tina Turner to record it, but you know, whatever. It goes like this. Ain't it just like heaven to linger in my mind? Oh, ain't it just like dream to take up all my time? I've come to this conclusion. I'm wrapped up in the thought of you. I'm lost in your distraction, trapped in my desire. I willingly surrender. Got 100 reasons why I'm wanting you to bring me to this place with you. That's what I need. Please take me down, won't you, baby? Show me what you do. take me down with you, baby. Anything's alright now. Ooh, baby, just kick off that line, lay your hands on me, set me free. Oh, I want you to take me down, take me down, take me down, baby. Ain't it just like fire to lead me to the flame and love me till I'm helpless, like ashes in the rain? Pour over me, I wanna see just you and me. That's what I need. Oh, please take me down, would you, baby? Show me what you do down. I'm crazy, just waiting on you. I lose my mind every time, anticipating loving you. Take me down, take me down, take me down. Would you, baby? Anything's alright now. Ooh, baby, just kick off that line, lay your hands on me, set me free. Oh, I want you. Take me down, take me down, take me down. All right, break out that pink champagne, bring on your everything now. Oh, 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 come give me all your love, the kind that lifts me up. I've never flown so high on the ground. Take me down, would you, baby? Anything's alright now. Ooh, baby, just kick off that line, lay your hands on me, set me free. Oh, I want you. Take me down, 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 take me down. Where ain't it just like heaven? Ooh, ain't it just like fire? Take me down. Thank you so much for having me. My buddy Eric Halbig here. Y'all have fun. Awesome conference. Thank you, Music Biz.
Oh my gosh, you guys. These Porsche Power Breaks have been incredible. If you missed Bren Joy yesterday, got to go back and see that. Shelly, fantastic. Oh, wow. All right. So now our next panel, I think the title of this panel actually is sort of encapsulates exactly what I want to say about it. The importance of healthcare and mental health care in setting the stage for equity. I really felt like when we put this conference together, we needed to touch on healthcare and mental health because such a large segment of our constituency in the music industry doesn't have easy access to mental health and healthcare as a part of their employment. You know, artists obviously, but also professionals in the touring industry. And, you know, this year of all years has shown us all how important live is to everybody's business. You know, the collapse of the live industry has adversely impacted everyone in the whole community. So we know now, you know, we have to come together and work together to be stronger together and prevent this, you know, kind of catastrophe from happening in the future. And one of the ways we're going to have to do that is work on getting folks healthcare and mental health care. So I'd like to invite my panel to just join, just come on over, and then I'm going to introduce you guys. My first guest is Tatum Alsep, the founder and CEO of the Music Health Alliance. Hi, Tatum.
Hi, it's good to see you.
I know, it's good to see your face.
So welcome to Music Health Alliance's office. We haven't been here since March. Music Health Alliance is a resource for healthcare access to heal the music. And we do three things. We protect, we direct, and we connect. So protect with a way to pay for your healthcare, direct, navigating the system, and then we connect you with the resources from birth to end of life for every genre of music across the nation. And it's all free and confidential.
Free, did you hear that? Free. Oh, excellent. So my next guest is Patsy Dolan Baressa, the executive director of the Sims Foundation. Hi, Patsy.
Hey, Portia, thanks for having me. So like Portia said, I'm the executive director of the Sims Foundation. We have been around for 25 years and we're the only nonprofit of its kind in the nation. We provide mental health and substance use recovery supports and services for musicians, music industry professionals, and their dependent family members. We also do a lot of education within our communities around these issues so that we're sure to be battling against that stigma that happens all the time. Within our levels of care, we literally have every type of service that a human can access in the United States healthcare system for these issues. And it is at little to no cost to all of our clients.
That's fantastic. And it's such a great thing. Also, we have with us Jerome Crooks and Matt Doherty. They are co-founders of the Touring Professionals Alliance. Welcome, guys.
Thank you very much.
For having us.
It's great to see you.
My name is Jerome Crooks. Matt and I started a conversation about 3 months ago that we wanted to bring in more tour managers and production managers into the conversation of how we can help our industry and basically start communicating with everyone else who is at home and wondering what is going on. And so we started a conversation with about 140, actually, I think we started with about 300, but right now we're about 140 strong right now, and communication is key. So that's what we're trying to do, is communicate.
I think the other thing I would like to add on that is we've identified that we now have some time on our hands to affect some change, and some change that the industry is in dire need of. So we are looking to partner and to talk and to discuss and to work on affecting real change for the betterment of the whole industry.
And my final guest is Amber Woodhouse. She is a singer and saxophonist in the band Trigger Happy. Welcome, Amber.
Hi guys. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. I, like Portia mentioned, I sing and I play saxophone. I'm in the band Trigger Hippie, and I would say, one of the success stories of the Nashville chapter of the Music Health Alliance. So I'm glad to be here to share that story.
So let's just dive right in, you guys. Let's talk about, I mean, this is a conference about diversity, inclusion, and equity, but, I feel like if people don't have stable health, it's very difficult to envision, them being powerful advocates for change in the industry. So I kind of wanted to start with Tatum, just talking about, because you've worked with so many people, you've had so many artists come through your doors, just can you give us your perspective on that?
Well, the whole idea of sex, drugs, rock and roll, I feel like is a misnomer, because you can't, yes, we are all creative artists in our industry. So mental health is a huge component of need within this creative industry. But what we found working with, 12,000 music professionals across the nation is you can't be successful and not be healthy. When you start down the road of self-medicating, the burnout's pretty quick. So the needs that we're seeing right now have changed. It used to be a healthcare issue. We need help right now. We need insurance. Right now, through COVID, the need has shifted to the most basic form of healthcare. We need food. We need medicine. We don't know what to do. Mental health has become a huge factor in that. And we've had to increase our resources and curate a whole new set of resources with telehealth that in the mental health area that we hadn't had a lot before. There are resources out there for everyone at every phase of life. No one should suffer alone. I think that is what I hope everybody who's listening gains from this is nobody's alone in our industry, and there are financial resources to help cover those costs as well. Just ask, and all of us are safe places to find that access. I'm not sure that really even answered your question, but it's a start off, point.
Start. Patsy, do you want to jump in about the mental health component? Because I know that, I mean, throughout this whole pandemic, I have been like reaching out for, I mean, everybody. I feel like everyone in the whole country we're a mess.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I certainly in my lifetime as a clinician have never seen anything like this, where everybody's experiencing the same trauma at the same time. So much like Tatum said, we're seeing many more people reaching out to us for help. We're also hearing, sadly, about many more people committing suicide and dying by overdose as a result of what's happening. So I think it's interesting when you're looking at diversity and inclusion, because obviously none of us cut out anyone based on their sexual orientation or their skin color. It's all open for anyone in the music industry, but there are sort of cultural barriers that limit how inclusive these services can be. And so that's something that we battle against and are trying to get out there to be in communities of color where it's commonplace to keep these issues inside your family or inside your church. And then that limits their comfort level with reaching out and accessing the care that they need. So that's a huge hurdle right now. And it's one that, we're partnering with a lot of other nonprofits that are actually not music related, just to get out in the community right now and just to offer support, whether they're in the industry or not. So that's a natural barrier that happens regardless of a pandemic. But now everyone's so isolated that they can't even access their church. Everything's over Zoom. They can't go to services. So we're really cutting people off in so many ways from accessing the care. And it's a difficult thing, as I'm sure Tatum's experienced, when you hear of people out there suffering and you have no connection to that person and you're just desperately trying to gain access so that they know that they have a safe place to land. So I just think the more that all of these folks on this panel are out there doing the work that we're doing and having the conversations that we're having, it is starting to make a difference. We're seeing it in the numbers of people who are contacting us, who have said, I heard you talking at this, on this Zoom call, or I heard you in that meeting, and I didn't know that I could do blank. And so the efforts that all of these folks are making to be out there and support everyone is just so critical.
And I think, sort of what you're implying is one of my big takeaways from this whole pandemic experience, which is that, and also in conjunction with, the murder of George Floyd and sort of the movement for racial justice and equity in our country, is that we all need to expand our networks. Like, we need to do that. That's something that every single person can do today. We can reach out, we can expand, we can meet more people, and we can make more of those connections, like you said, that are going to, over time, stand us in good stead by bringing us together and giving people access to more information.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we've chosen to purposely go out and partner with non-music related nonprofits. It's not just about being in this industry. It's our entire community is damaged right now as a result of the pandemic. So however we can get that message out there, we'll do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Amber, I wanted to give you an opportunity to tell your story, because I think, people, music is such a young person's game, right? And I think everyone just thinks that, it's like, oh, okay, well, you might, create a problem for yourself by, being a drug addict or something. But the truth is, people get sick all the time. It just happens. And people's houses burn down. I mean, bad things happen to people just in the course of their regular lives. And then you need a solution, especially if you're a full-time working musician.
100%. Yeah, I'd love to share that. So to start, how I ended up getting connected with the Music Health Alliance and through Tatum was that I worked at William Morris Endeavor for about 4.5 years. And there was a day called Walk the Walk, where we went and did outreach at different organizations throughout the community. And so I got partnered up with the Music Health Alliance that day and learned about all of the services that they offer. And at the time, I wasn't planning on being a full-time musician, but then you fast forward 2 or 3 years down the line, and I said, oh, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to be touring. I want to be out on the road singing and playing saxophone. I need to call Tatum before I even quit my job. So I called, yeah. And so I called her and I let her know what I was up to. We had a meeting. She explained the Affordable Health Care Act and how all of those things would come into play and how I would need to use them. And at the time, I didn't know I was sick. So that's just a little bit of a foreshadow. But I was taken care of. As soon as I left my job, I still had insurance ready to go. I knew everything to expect, no questions, nothing to worry about. I start touring, and for about 4 months off and on, I was having chronic bowel obstructions and in and out of the hospital 4 days at a time. And then I'd be home for 3 and then back in the hospital for 4 for a good 3 months and 3 or 4 months. And I was just popping pills, taking medicine to just try and get through to the next gig and get on stage and perform. And then during a guitar solo, run off stage and go throw up in the bathroom and then come back on stage when the guitar solo was done and just pretend like everything was fine. It all came to a head when they were able to diagnose me with Crohn's disease and realized, hey, we've been trying to pump you full of these meds. None of them are working. We actually have to do a surgery. And so I ended up having a partial colectomy, which ended up in me having an ileostomy. That surgery alone, not to mention all of the time that I'd spent in the hospital for the better half of that spring summer, probably ran around 250,000 with all of those things combined.
Wow.
However, I was set up with my health insurance before any of that had gone down. And so the last thing I actually had to worry about was my medical bills. I didn't have to worry about how I was going to pay the doctor office, how I was going to pay for my medication that I finally was able to get on, which costs $1,200 per shot, and I take it twice a month. So I really like sharing that story and kind of going into detail about some of those things, because as a young person being on the road, it's kind of a hard life. Like Tatum said, it's like, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I mean, kind of, but the hard things that come with touring are the super late nights and the super early mornings, the bus calls, the interviews, and then going to the show, and then having to, even on the mental health side of things, be present enough to meet with fans afterwards and shake hands and all of those things. You can't do that if you don't have your mental and physical health in check. And it was a very scary moment for me I had to take about 3 months off in total once I had my surgery. And it was scary because I thought to myself, man, I was thankful because I had everything taken care of. But at the same time, I thought to myself, if I didn't have any of that stuff taken care of, I might have been dead, to be perfectly blunt and transparent. But outside of that, I don't know that I could have continued to perform. And so now 2 years later, I've been touring. Of course, COVID has kind of shut down our industry in some capacity. But to be honest with you, I've got these wristbands on today. I have my reversal surgery scheduled for tomorrow. So everything's getting reconnected and going back to business. And I don't know. I'm just so thankful, and I'm happy to just share that with all of you guys. So,
Can I jump in for just a second and say something about Amber? Everybody who is tuning in needs to go to her social media pages and look at her photos. Amber has done such an incredible service to the world of Crohn's and colitis because she has demystified the ostomy bag and what it means to have a colostomy. And it used to be a career-ending sentence. Now it is no big deal. And Amber has shown the world what this looks like, how it's no big deal, how to proceed on the road as a successful musician. But she had so much foresight also as a businesswoman to think ahead. So she wasn't always in crisis management. And that's not typically the way our industry rolls. But Amber sharing her story can help change, create a paradigm shift and help a younger group really start thinking ahead and planning these things. I mean, when we started talking about her illness, she had all her ducks in a row and she was ready to take it on. She was also on tour with Moon Taxi. I mean, it wasn't like she didn't have anything going on, and she handled it head on and with ferocity, knowing that she was going to get well, which is another great point. Hope is as important a medicine as biomedicine itself. Anyway, I love
100%.
you, Amber. I'm so glad to see you.
I love you, Tatum. Thank you.
Amber, I think we put your social handle in the chat so people can
Appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story, because it's important for people to hear this. Jerome and Matt, I wanted to have you guys talk a little bit. Jerome, you're a professional tour manager. You've been doing this for many years. What's the situation for your peer group in terms of the availability of healthcare?
Well, for most of my peers, most of the tour managers out there and production managers that are older have insurance. And what we're learning is a lot of the younger generation they were playing with fire and don't typically get health insurance. And some people are just take their chances on the road, and they would rather have a rock doc help them if there's a rock doc available. But it's really tough to see the younger generation, because when I was 20, I think when I was 25 or 26, I didn't have insurance for 3 or 4 years, and that was by choice. And then I soon learned that I should, be very smart about my decisions. And so I use a broker to help me find the best insurance that I can have. And I share the information with a lot of people that I work with, a lot of the younger generation that I work with. And it really wasn't until when Matt and I started this organization that I learned about what Tatum is doing, because I did not know. And so this has been a huge learning curve for us. And we've had calls with Tatum, and we've shared the information with basically, so you have the pyramid of tour managers and production managers. And the idea is those tour managers and production managers are sending out day sheets that we as an organization, we build one day sheet. We share information about Sweet Relief, Music Cares, Crew Nation, what Patsy is doing over at Sims, and what Tatum is doing. So we share the information, and the idea is for all of these tour managers and production managers to share it under that umbrella, and hopefully everyone takes that information and they run with it. But we've really tried to push the Music Health Alliance so that people know that there's an option out there for them to get information and to have a place to get help.
I would imagine that touring professionals have a little bit of a cultural issue too. Like, when I say culture, I mean American culture, in terms of like sort of the stereotype of like coolness, toughness, things like that. I mean, my husband always tells the story of going to see the Rolling Stones and going backstage because one of his bands was opening for them. And, the Rolling Stones are like 70, whatever. And their road guys were all also 70. Like, they had all been together for like 50 years. Yeah. And it's like, that's sort of a beautiful story. But when you think about it, it's like, I feel like, I think there's a narrative out there of like, well, I'll work harder, I'll work longer hours, I'm going to get more tours, I'm going to, it's like, I'm going to push myself. And I feel like younger people are willing to do that. And then they have no employer provided health insurance. So, that seems like a potentially dangerous situation.
Yeah, for sure. I learned early on also, traveling overseas, I started getting international healthcare, so that if I ever had an issue, ever got sick, I can just they would put me on a plane and then send me back to the US. So I didn't want to be stuck somewhere down in, I won't say, but I didn't want to be stuck somewhere. and you know, I wanted the best possible
Let's
help.
say it. Where were you going to be stuck?
No.
Come on.
Mute? What? I didn't want to be
The
stuck
land of
in
universal
Sydney,
healthcare.
Australia. Yeah. No.
I'll chime in for a second, Portia, about insurance, because obviously it's in Amber's story, it really highlights the huge place it has in taking care of people and making sure people get taken care of their health and then not come out with $1 million bill. But even with the inception of the Affordable Care Act, which required that there would be basically parity between physical health care and mental health care, which on paper sounds great. But when you actually look at what that means, so if you have a plan that says you have a $25 copay to go to your primary care physician, that sounds amazing. And a lot of people can afford that. And that's beautiful. But you don't go to that person every week like you would a therapist. So just because the same office visit is $25, you're looking at, a lot of money, $100 a month for them to see their therapist. They can't afford that. And then in addition, there's levels of care that insurance companies traditionally will not cover. So they'll jump from going to a therapist and having a psychiatrist or medication management, and they might pay for an intensive outpatient program, but they won't pay for a partial hospitalization program. So they leap over that. And then the next thing that they pay for is a psychiatric hospital, which anyone who has ever been inside one knows serve a purpose. They're absolutely necessary, but they cause a lot of trauma. So there's not true equity. And so we get asked regularly at SIMS, well, you have all these clients that have insurance. Why are you wasting money on that? And then when I sit down and sort of show them the dollars, the light goes on and realizes there's no parity. So their insurance is amazing when it comes to physical health care, but from a mental health care standpoint, it's subpar. So I'm always wanting to make sure people understand that, because if you've never dealt with insurance, it just seems like it's okay, but it's not. So we do not have parity for behavioral health care.
Tatum, do you want to jump in there?
I do, because we are about to enter open enrollment. And open enrollment is the one time a year. It was created by the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act is also Obamacare, and you'll hear the terms marketplace and all these different words. Really, the Affordable Care Act was created to make healthcare more accessible to the masses who don't have access to group benefits. That's our industry. 76% of our industry has no access to group benefits. So from November 1st through December 15th, anywhere in the United States, you can sign up for health insurance that will cover you bumper to bumper. Nothing can be excluded. But this window is short. It used to be 12 weeks, now it's 6 weeks. And unless you have some special enrollment period, like you get married or family member passes away, this is the only time you can get health insurance that would start January 1st. Healthcare.gov, which is the marketplace, I like to describe it, it's kind of like Travelocity to get to American Airlines. It's just a vessel, but through that vessel of healthcare.gov, that's the only place you're going to get the discounts, which will reduce your monthly premiums. They'll also reduce your out-of-pocket costs. And going into 2020, so many of us in our industry who haven't qualified for those discounts, we're going to qualify for the first time, because our industry has had a complete disruption. I mean, we were the first ones to stop working, and we're going to be the last ones to get back to work. So look into that. Call Music Health Alliance. You can go to our website, musichealthalliance.com. Reach out. We will schedule a time for you to talk to one of our advocates. It's free. I have a big word of caution about health insurance. If it looks too good to be true, it probably is. Read the fine print. There's no such thing as a hybrid plan. Christian share plans are not worth the paper they're written on. There's nothing Christian about them. And they're not covered by the law. They fall into a religious exclusion. Just beware, buyer beware. And it's not that complicated. It seems so overwhelming, and that's a bit intentional. But insurance is a big business. And as long as you can, what's your budget, you're going to need to be able to guesstimate what your income next year is going to be. If you need to shoot low, shoot low. And then you can change your income each month if you need to. But in some states, so income, what's your budget? What are your needs? What are your medicines that you need? Who are the doctors you want to see? Look at doctors that are in that network, and pick a plan that meets your needs and your budget so you can see your doctor. It's not as complicated as you go into the marketplace or healthcare.gov and there are a bazillion plans. It's really easy to narrow it down based on your needs, budget, and the doctors that you need to see. So it doesn't have to be so complicated.
Tatum, I'm assuming that, since you've been doing this job and the ACA was enacted into law, you saw a big change in terms of the amount of people in our industry who suddenly were able to be covered.
For the
But
first,
what I'm worried about, I'm
Yeah.
sorry?
I said for the first time ever, so many people. I know what you're about to say.
Yeah, like
Supreme
where are
Court,
we
are you a little worried?
That's the thing I'm afraid of. What is this? I mean, I guess, speculation is pointless, but in 2 weeks we are having an election that's probably going to make a big difference.
Here's something real. It's going to make a big difference, but here's something really, really important to know. Even if the Affordable Care Act goes to hell in a handbasket on November 6th, when it goes before the Supreme Court, nothing is going to change for 2021. And it is likely nothing will change for 2022 because this is moving a mountain. And if they came in and stripped everyone of their health insurance, it would disrupt the entire medical system, which is not in anyone's best interest politically or for humanity and decency in general. Nobody wants to do that. It took 4 years from the date the Affordable Care Act was passed in 2010 for it to actually be implemented in 2014 with health insurance. I'm really hopeful that there will just be a severability of this one piece of the law and it will continue on and we can fix it. There are lots of things that are broken with this law. The good part is those that qualify can get affordable health insurance. Just a hack to remember as you're entering, if you go to healthcare.gov yourself and you happen to be in a southern state, we have an expanded Medicaid, which is insurance for, I know in Texas and Tennessee and Georgia, Medicaid is insurance for those that are most financially vulnerable. So if you go into healthcare.gov in your state or your state's marketplace, and you say that your income for 2021, if you're a single person, is going to be below $12,800, and your state has an expanded Medicaid, it's going to come back with all full price plans. Just remember that. You can project whatever you want, but I would suggest sticking with about 13,000 just to make sure, because there's no penalty if you make less. They're not going to make you pay it all back. But there is, for the states that haven't expanded Medicaid, you're not going to have any health insurance options that are affordable.
Wow.
That doesn't mean you don't have access to care. There are lots of places to get it. But if you're looking for health insurance, you won't find it if your income falls below that threshold.
Matt, I have to ask you to jump in since I can tell by your accent that you're not a natural American.
And he's missing home when we talk about healthcare, I'm sure.
So when I moved here 6 years ago, I knew of the healthcare issues that this country faces, but was quite bewildered as to the extent of it. And so I'm not really wanting to speak too much on the actual healthcare, but I want to speak on the equity of mental health. And I think it's not just an industry problem, it's a societal problem, obviously removing the stigma of mental health issues. But I think if we could take one thing from the pandemic, maybe it's the fact that we're not, when people ask us how we are, we don't just say we're fine. We actually start to say, actually, I struggle with this, or I struggle with that. In my mind, change in the music industry to get towards where we are more diverse, more equitable, and healthier. Change happened in the 90s with health and safety, generally as a new thing that was brought in, and it had some success because it went through the lens of risk. And if we look at this issue of mental health, well-being, and physical health and well-being through the lens of risk, then we'll be able to get this done. I believe that mental health, mental well-being should be as fundamental to the health of the industry as wearing a hard hat. And we need to teach people that. And one of the first things we need to do is remove the stigma. We need to have people to be able to talk as easily about how they're feeling in the back lounge as the bus rolls out after a loadout, as they talk about how well the show went. That's the goal. So if that's the goal, we've got to work on these short-term outcomes now, and we have time to work on this now, and we need to put these structures in place now, and we can do it if, in my opinion, we look at it through the lens of risk and start to analyze. We need to train people. Mental first aid, that's a big thing. It's not the be all and end all, and it's definitely not clinical, but it's a step, because there's no clinician on the bus. But if you can recognize some signs in a colleague and then go, I now need to be able to show these people how to steer that person towards real help. And if we can put those things and ideas in place now, then we're really making use of this time. And that is something we have to do, because if we do not make use of this time to bring this structure to our industry, then shame on us.
Thank you for that, Matt. I loved everything you just said. I'll chime in. It's been wonderful having conversations with the Touring Professionals Alliance and Matt and Jerome in particular, just because they were really just on their own came to exactly that passionate place that Matt just expressed. And, I'll give you an example of how ingrained that stigma is. So I'm sure in all of our cities where we're residing, in response to the pandemic, city and county and state governments immediately came up with money, right? They were trying to help people. How do we help people get through this pandemic? And here in Austin, there were quite a few sort of nonprofit entities that sort of created their own funds, and we're talking millions of dollars. Most of them were geared towards what they called basic needs, which I would not dispute is pay your bills, feed your family, keep the roof over your head. But interestingly enough, mental health is not considered a basic need in any of these grants. It's not listed. We don't qualify. We can't access any of that money. And so to me, did they go in there with a conscious stigma that they don't like people who have a mental health issue? No, but it's just ingrained in our society to disregard and sort of pass judgment on people who struggle emotionally, people who struggle with substances. We are brought up thinking it's some sort of character flaw. And I agree wholeheartedly with what Matt was just saying about until we're open and honest about our struggles internally, what we personally deal with every day. There isn't a human on the planet who doesn't struggle emotionally at some point in their life. And we're all struggling emotionally right now in the middle of this pandemic. But to just be able to talk about it, to just be honest when somebody says, how are you doing? Just stop for a minute and let them know exactly how you're doing. You don't have to go into all the detail, but it's okay to tell somebody, I'm not doing really great today. I'm struggling. I cried this morning and I don't even know why, kind of thing. And, we're again partnering with lots of organizations that are getting that. And we're really trying to get that word out. And it was interesting because the event that we created with another nonprofit here in Austin was called Loadout. And we started it last month and we're going to do it monthly, where we're just going to, venues that are operating currently not as venues because they can't because of the lockdown. So they have a food trailer and people can get a cocktail kind of thing and socially distance. where we're standing up at a microphone and talking about mental health issues and talking about our struggles and just sharing that this is what we're experiencing. And we did it for the first time, and these poor people who were just there to have a drink. And when the founder of this other nonprofit stood up to say what we were going to talk about in 15 minutes, you just saw them going like, oh God, you know, and sort of gathering their stuff and ready to bolt. But the ones that stuck around were the ones who came up to us after and said, are you going to do this every month? My partner, my girlfriend, my roommate really needs to hear this. And so now we're doing it as a monthly thing. So we're just doing everything we can to make sure people know that we are in this pandemic mess together, and people are out there doing things to support one another. And also that it's okay to stand up in a room full of people and say, I'm not doing okay. So I loved what you said, Matt. Thank you.
That is awesome. I think it's, you know, the one thing that gives me hope in that realm, honestly, is that I feel like over my lifetime, I've seen a change, and it's not 100% of a change. It's not perfect. It's not everywhere. It's not in every community, but I do feel like now it's much more possible for, you know, someone to say, you know, when you have some people over for dinner and someone says, you say, what would you like to drink? And they say, oh, I'm just going to have mineral water. I don't drink. You know, I feel like that is something that is possible now, that when I was a kid, my parents' generation, you know, I mean, you would never go there. It was like you were a leper or something, you know, someone who had a serious drinking problem. You just, oh, we don't talk about that. And it was a very hush hush and problematic, and, you know, created huge issues for the family as well. I mean, clearly, obviously, it still creates issues for the family, but I feel like people can talk about it in a different way now. So that does give me hope for the future.
I completely agree.
I've got something that I've noticed more recently is in younger generations, you know, they're much more willing to talk about their feelings and behavioral health. As someone from a more senior generation, I have had a difficult time seeing that when someone says, you know, I'm having a really crappy day. Okay, I hear you. What are we going to do about it? You know, let's do something. But when someone says it over and over and over and over again, and they're not willing to help themselves, that's not okay. Those are two different things. You know, so saying you're not okay, but also being willing to take the steps necessary. And if you can't do it by yourself, talk to your tour manager, talk to another band member. I mean, you are not alone in this, and it is a shitty time. I mean, it is. I'm going to counseling myself. It is too much to handle for one person. So take the next step. I mean, we can help you find resources. There are sliding scale counseling resources across the nation. After Las Vegas, we developed an enormous trauma resource base across the nation. There are also resources and financial assistance to help pay for inpatient trauma programs. Use this time that's down to take care of you, and your career will thank you later on. Without question.
Yeah, I agree, Tatum. And I would add to what you were saying about, you know, sharing with people that you're struggling, but not taking that next step. And, you know, the realization is for many, it's difficult to take that next step. And it's important that those around them, because we will get calls or emails from people saying, I saw this person post something on Facebook, and it sounds like they're, you know, in danger of harming themselves. And they may be that person's best friend, but they're too afraid to take the step that they need to do in order to take care of their loved one. And so I think it is an educational piece to, you know, get with the band and the crew that tours with them and the management to say, you have this person who is struggling with blank, and we need to educate you as his community on this tour about what that might look like and what it might take if, you know, these X, Y, or Z things happen. So we need to be willing to have that conversation. And I'm hoping through the Touring Professionals Alliance that those are the walls that will start to come down. Oftentimes you'll see when people are touring, there might be what we call as clinicians, the identified patient. So the person that they're like, this is the person with all the problems. You need to go away and fix yourself. and then come back perfectly healthy. But we're not going to change. So you're walking right back in the same maybe toxic environment. So I think it's so many layers to ensuring that that entire community that you're traveling along with really understand what you're dealing with, that you're willing to share that. If you're on medications, it's important for them to know what you're taking. If you missed a medication, this might be what it looks like. Don't panic. I'm going to be okay. But that kind of information really breaks down those walls that keep people from reaching out around them to get the help that they need, and make it more comfortable for those around them to say, I'm seeing that you're struggling. So from what you've told me about what you struggle with, this is what I'm going to do to help you.
Amber, were your bandmates supportive when you got sick?
Yeah, and honestly, they didn't really know what was going on. They just knew I wasn't okay. Um, and I mean, I remember there were times where they literally had to carry me to the hotel room from the van or the tour bus, like, because I couldn't even walk. It was too painful. And I think because we were all really young in the group that I was traveling with the most at that time, none of us thought, oh, maybe we should go to the hospital. We were just like, oh, she'll sleep it off and it'll be good the next day. And so that's literally how it worked out. They were supportive once they found out what was going on. And when I was taking time to rest, no one was really pushing me to go out sooner than I needed to. But I had a support system, which was great.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
We-
Jerome and Matt, you look like you jump in.
Sorry. So I think we have an opportunity too. We're such influences, the music industry. There's such a lack of trust now in day-to-day life. What can a young person trust in? They can't trust their politicians. They can't trust this. They don't want to trust the parent. They don't want to. It's like maybe there's still a connection of trust between them and their rock stars, between the people that they idolize. Then surely there's a responsibility for us, once we do work on the stigma internally, then to raise that conversation. It was in the chat just there that where the more we have these conversations, the more it's normalized. I couldn't agree more. And if the rock stars of the world, the influencers, are talking about it as a normal thing, then this health, whether it be a health situation, physical health situation, a mental health situation, it's out there. We're all talking about it. It just leads to a healthier society overall. We owe that to the people that follow us as a music industry, a bunch of pirates running around the world, following these rock stars around. We owe it we want to give something back.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask both of you, because the stuff that I've seen change in the touring industry since I played in a rock band in the 90s and, did some Lollapalooza style tours and there, since then, between then and now, there started being these NA and AA meetings that popped up in backstage and and at festivals and at certain shows. And I feel like that was a big step forward. That was a big step saying, like, if you're having a problem, if you need to talk to people, there are people here to talk to. And that was a huge service. So to me, there's a possibility for some of this change to occur within the touring industry. And I think you guys, I'm so excited to see what you guys are planning, because I feel like, there's a lot of potential there.
Well, there's crew members out there, and it didn't occur to me until just now, but a couple of tours that we have out on the road, there are crew members that are in AA. Right. And the crew members that are in AA together, if we're on one particular tour, there may be like 8 or 9 people in AA. They support each other. They go to meetings on days off together. And I think this is going to become an extension of that. And we really believe in communication with what we're doing right now. And it's only going to make us stronger, but we can't be stronger unless people are not communicating. So, we want to be here for the long haul, and we love the partnerships that we've built so far. And so, between Portia or Patsy and Tatum and yourself, Portia, we are looking forward to building more partnerships and sharing the information. So
I'll add something about that because I think it's really interesting. You're absolutely right. We are seeing more and more people saying that they're in recovery and sharing what their recovery path is. And it's been amazing to see how far we've come from what used to be what recovery looked like, which basically it was you have to be in a 12-step program, and that is the way that you go into recovery. And there's so many other recovery paths, and it's taken probably 20 years to get to the point where even longtime 12-step folks are finally accepting the other pathways and acknowledging that that's recovery too. It just looks different, which then just opens up the door for so many people getting healthy. Being able to say, like, that 12-step thing just didn't work for me. I don't know why, but it didn't. And now to be able to say, well, here's all these other 15 other ways that you can get support that is not the same as the 12-step, but the concept is the same. I mean, addiction is just a disease of lack of connection. So we need to find a way to get you connected to what makes you feel safe and sustains you in your recovery. So I think it's a really a great time, really, to be looking at all of this, because we have so many other ways of taking care of people than what we did even just 15, 20 years ago. So it's an exciting time to be looking at all of this and using this downtime for something more other than stressing and worrying like we all are anyway. So it's very exciting to me. I think we can do a lot of good.
Fantastic. So we're going to put your guys' links, the links to your organizations, in our chat for everybody, because I think it's important. I mean, you know, I know when you work in it every day, it's hard. It feels like, because it's, you know, it's the center of my world, it's also the center of everyone else's world. But then it's like, oh my God, it's not. Like, we need to constantly communicate and get the word out there about what you guys are doing in all these different organizations, because it's really exciting. And it's really, you know, it's going to help people ultimately.
Can I just say one thing that is, this music business that so many of us had started out as a hobby, just had a mate in a band, etc., and has turned into a career after some decades. This music industry is not, it does not have an understanding of who it is. And we need to understand that as an absolute fundamental that will speak to all of these other issues, every issue, because we don't know how many we are. We don't know where we are. We don't know who we are. And I think we need to start doing that. We need to start gathering that data, and people need to start understanding more about the industry that they're in, because it's a time of growth now. We have an opportunity, as we've all pointed out. We need to move forward. We need to seek out equity, diversity. We need to stabilize the health of our industry. We need to seek out, we need to help. And what we need to do first, we need to work out who we are. One of the things, and I'm just going to say this because it's so important to us, and I just want to say it, we're conducting a survey, a crew survey. We're trying to, a touring professional survey, we're calling it. We're trying to find out how many we are. And that the survey is actually on our website, and it's so important that we start to gather this information. The fundamental, when we went to the politicians and everyone's banging on about trying to get some aid, they went, well, how many of you are? And no one could answer it. No one could answer the question.
The numbers are elevated to 12 million, and that's not correct.
It's not correct. So we're trying to find the facts, because that data will lead to help and aid. The help and aid will lead to a more stable industry. The stable industry will lead to better health outcomes for people, because we'll be able to afford insurance. We'll show the pathways. We are growing up as an industry. We're only 70 years old, and we are now we're afforded an opportunity to really make some impact upon that growth. And now I'll shut up.
No, Matt, what you were saying is so important, and it's so cool that Portia is leading, that they're leading this panel, because like with any business, you got to build some walls around it with your members and your mission statement and your core values. And for our whole industry, a lot of those are the same, but we're an industry of misfits and pirates. And it seems like you are one that's got both sides of your brain firing. So maybe you can take those important thoughts and move it to the next level,
Ask him where he lives and why he has so much time.
Where do
Oh,
you live
I'm
now?
sorry. I thought I was on mute again. Sorry.
Is a parrot on a boat?
He on a boat. I have a feeling he's on a boat.
I'm extremely lucky to live in the woods and to be by myself at the moment, although the by myself has downsides. But with grown-up children who are all safe in Australia, I do have plenty of time on my hands to be thinking like this. So yes, Jerome, your point is well taken.
I think, does your board say stop the bullshit? So
Yes.
Love it.
that's the last word on this. Well, we're out of time, you guys, but what a delight it's been to talk to all of you. And, you know, ultimately, I'm just glad that we're using this time to make connections. So I'm so glad to have connected with all of you and to have connected all of you with all of our people watching. So thank you for everything you do, you guys, and we'll definitely stay in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye, everyone.